Hi there. Are you curious about building up layers in your artwork and understanding the better use of transparent and opaque paints? In today's video, I'm going to show you how I built up layers and layers in this landscape in my sketchbook. Now, I may have gone on too far. There's probably about 3 paintings underneath the work, but I think it's an interesting thing to build up many layers. It creates some mystery and lots of depth in your work. If you're new to my channel, I'm Pat from Scrivener Art and Design in Parksville, British Columbia on Vancouver Island. I love sharing my knowledge and I'm happy to answer any of your questions. Leave a comment below in the comment box and I will get back to you. Also, if you're appreciating my videos and you want to help support my channel, I have set up a Buy Me a Coffee account. You can find the link in the description below, and I would be most grateful for your tip. Thanks so much. Enjoy the video, and please let me know if you have any comments or questions. I was looking through my sketchbook and found this painting that I had started by cleaning out my brushes, and I thought it had quite a landscape feel to it, but certainly isn't resolved. So one of the things that I like to do when I look at something that I want to resolve and continue is look for areas that I particularly like, and then also look for areas that I don't like and that I want to release. So I really do like this hot pink area, and I like how the blue is next to that. That is a nice contrast to me. I also do like this bit over here with all the texture and stuff. I'm finding maybe this is a little bit bright, or it just, so far it feels somewhat disjointed. All the pink is on this side. It's just not balanced yet. And also, if this were the sky, it's not muted back enough to put it in the distance. So that needs to also be changed. But what I thought I would do with this is start with some collage to just firm up the composition a bit. I'm thinking this could be a hill in the background, kind of has a line here, and then maybe this could be pushed back as another hill possibly, or it could be part of the sky. I don't know exactly yet, but it has a bit of darks in here, and it has right now some lights, a lot of mid values, and it's not very anchored at the bottom, so I probably want to add some more dark down at the bottom as well. So with that being said, I'm going to get started with some collage. So the collage papers I pulled out for this were some that I have painted previously. This is tissue paper, and it's been painted on a plastic bag. So you get that texture where it sticks, and it looks different on both sides. The side where you actually painted is quite dull, and then where it's on the plastic, it's quite shiny. So that's a possibility. I also have this other one that I painted on tissue paper, and it has some nice marks and variations in it. And I think it's quite a nice color with what I've got going here. So I might use some of that. The other thing that I thought I might use, I've over time saved a lot of these paint skins. And so the paint skins are from my palette. And so this would have been the side that I mixed on last. And it's not that pretty. I was obviously making some neutrals and grays. But when I ripped it off my palette, there's all this beauty on the back side, which were some of the colors I was mixing in the beginning. So there's some nice richness in there that I might add some of these. So it's just acrylic paint pulled off my palette. And I have a few different ones here. Something similar to the pink in the painting study there. And again, this has two sides. The shiny side comes off the back of the palette, and this side is quite textural. So we'll see if some of these work out. So it's just acrylic paint, but I'm using it like collage. So it's a good way to save your paint. I like to put it between plastic sheets, otherwise it will stick together. As you can see here, this one is kind of stuck down. So it can just become a great big mess if you don't organize it. Between plastic sheets or in old photo sleeves can work as well to divide it. So that's another option. Okay, so I'm going to get started here with some collage. So this is very thin. Just using some matte medium to glue it down. I always like to use just older brushes for this as well, so that they don't get wrecked. So I think I'm going to put a little bit of that over onto this side as well. Maybe up into there. So I like how you can see some of the transparency through the paper, that you can see some of the lines behind. using the catalyst wedge to really push it down and make sure that there's no air bubbles in there. It's got a nice bond. Take it right off over there, I think. So quite often I do see mountains in my landscapes just intuitively because there are mountains where I live. Previously I lived close to the Rocky Mountains in Canada, so the mountains here on Vancouver Island aren't as large, but there are still mountains, and my living room view, I look out towards Mount Arrowsmith. So that's changed the formation up there quite a bit. I think maybe I'll put a little bit more just over there, another layer. And it's okay if this tissue paper kind of textures up. It just adds a little bit more texture into the whole equation here. Okay, I'm liking that. Obviously some work to do there, but in the meantime, I want to get something that's going to look good with this. So these are hard to rip, I find. They're kind of like plastic, and I guess they are plastic. So I find they don't rip into nice shapes that well. But I'm finding that a little too dirty. What's on the back here? Bright orange. Some more blue. Blue might come in handy. I was going to use the blue side because I really kind of wanted to bring that over, but it's quite lumpy and the texture's on the top, so I'm thinking of adding it in over here somehow. And maybe not at all. well, it can always be covered up, so I think I'm just going to glue it down, and if I don't like it later on, it can be painted over. I might need a heavier glue here. It's not wanting to stay down well, so let me grab that. So I'm going to use some of this heavy regular gel. The thicker the collage, the thicker the glue. Just a good rule of thumb. I think I'm going to add some dioxazine purple down here just for a little bit of depth. So I'm kind of scraping the bottom of the barrel here, and it's pretty thick. Mix a little bit of my medium into it. I'm going to make some marks in that. Maybe I'll use a toothbrush and just scratch some lines, move it around a little bit. Pick up a little bit of this in places, just so I can bring some of that undercolor back. It's also leaving a bit of texture of the paper or the shop towel. Okay, the next thing I want to do is calm this sky down a bit. I'm going to add some raw titanium to that, or sometimes it's called Titan Buff. So it's like titanium white. It's just doesn't have the whitening agent in it. So it'll warm this up, which I think could be good for my sky and to go with what's happening in here with the yellow. So I'm going to mix some of that with the dioxazine purple. And these are both chroma paints that I get from Chroma in Granville Island in Vancouver, and they are available on Amazon as well. They're a nice quality paint for the price point because they're straight from the manufacturer. Seems a little too dark. I'm still using this old brush, which is really awful. Should get a better brush, really. Just leave that little bit of space there. This paint is a little bit granulated here. I think it's old. So I want to do something under here. That's a little bit intense. I'm going to add a little bit of yellow to knock that back a bit. So I'm just going to add a little bit of this Amsterdam acrylic, and it is azo yellow. So the opposite color is going to make the purple, in this case purple and yellow, it's going to make it more neutral. So I want this a little less bright just because it's in the background. So I'm kind of scratching it on with my brush here, off on the side, kind of scrubbing it. I think I'll bring some of that yellow up into here. Just as if the sun is poking through. Okay, so this feels a little bit divided with that black line, so I do want to try and get rid of that. Because I have yellow on my brush, I'm going to bring it over and see if that will help, but I might need something opaque. I may not want such a bright yellow in the center. I got rid of the bright yellow, and now it seems I'm putting it back. Okay, so this teal is only in one place, so I think that needs to be added elsewhere as well. I'm going to use some golden teal color here, but I'm going to warm it up because this looks a little greener over here as well. So I'm going to add a little bit of the yellow I still have on my palette, and it doesn't take much, as you can see. So I'm going to put some of that over in this area. And I think I'm going to try and texture this a little. Use a little bit as a stamp. And up here I think I'm just going to blot it up a bit. And maybe scrape through it. So use one of these catalyst wedges here to see if I can make some movement and marks through it. My eye still wants to kind of gravitate towards that, so I want a little bit more of the bright fuchsia elsewhere. I don't have this exact same color, I don't think, but I'm going to try some of this Demco magenta. Now it's a fluid paint, so it's going to go on very thinly. And this is pretty much dry to the touch. So I'm just going to do a glaze over this. So you can see it's not the same color, and that may have been a mixed down color. I don't know. So often if you use a glaze coat, you will get harmony in your paintings. So I can put some over here. Creates a lot of depth. Maybe I'll just even go right over this area. Try to integrate this piece I put in there. So this is feeling a little bit bright as well now in the background, so I think I will glaze over it with this. I guess it's still a little bit wet there. I'm going to try a little rubbing alcohol on here. It's super wet. And that's going to push the paint back and around. Only works when you have a wet layer on top. So we'll see what that does. Now the higher content of alcohol, the better. So that was like, I think 99% isopropyl alcohol. I'm just going to hit this with a blow dryer to speed things up. So there is some yummy things happening where the alcohol did push the paint back to some of the previous layers. So it's giving it a little bit more atmosphere. I haven't done anything with this, and it looks like it's different than the rest. So a couple of options. I could glaze over that. As much as I love it, it's not really tying in. So let's try this. It's still very interesting. So I think I'll just go over this whole yellow part here as well. So that's what a glaze coat will help you do, is to harmonize your painting more and bring it together. With that being said, I'm going to do the whole thing. Now this paint is really soupy. I added quite a bit of water in my brush, and it's already fluid. So I think on this one I'm going to first do a lift with water. So it just takes a bit of time for this to work so you can blot it off, but I like how some of this paint is seeping into the crevices there on the mountains. So I'm just going to use this as a dried up baby wipe actually. Blot some of that back. I'm going to go back in and add some line work. I'm going to try a Lyra Graphite just to give it some line. Maybe a Posca pen. Just adding a little bit of dark to it. So I might try a little bit of Collage as well, just to give it a little more darks and some more emphasis. So this is a piece that I made. Cut that white off. So threes are always good. Okay, I'm going to commit to that. Again, that wasn't quite dry. Okay, so I'm going to put a little glaze over this as well, so it's integrated into the painting. This is why I like to use black and white. You can get your darks in, but you don't, your whites will take on the glaze color, which is really nice. Okay, let's check this out. My mat isn't quite as big here as the painting. So I'm feeling like this needs more light value in it. So I think I'm going to put some white on here. I know this might scare you. So adding lots of layers to give things depth and interest. So I'm going to let this dry. I'll blow dry it and then I'll paint over it again and see how that looks. I'm going to try some of this transparent yellow iron oxide as a glaze layer over my white now to see if it'll pull it all together. You can tell it's transparent as well by these little black lines. So I've added some glazing medium to it to thin it out even more because it is a heavy body paint. Oops. Picked up something in my brush there. This paint has got a little bit gummy as well. This is what happens when you don't get your acrylics used up. They will deteriorate. Okay, let's just look at this through the mat now. And it's definitely, I think, more interesting, brings your eye down into the forefront. It's got more values. I like how the eye goes back into this area here. This feels like it needs to be toned down a little bit. Oops, I picked up a little teal on my brush. I'm okay with that. It's maybe what it needs. Just pushing that back up there so my eye doesn't end up way up at the top. So that got a little bit green. I'm just going to add a little bit back in over here. So I did get a definite line down in this area. I don't like that. So I'm going to see if I can push it back a bit and soften that. I think that's somewhat better. So just manipulating a little bit of white in this area. So again, trying to bring up some of that painting from underneath and break that up a little bit. Looks a little bit too green. So I'm just working a little bit of the purple back in on top here. Just kind of scratching this around. Maybe putting a little bit of splatters from the toothbrush. Just adding a little yellow highlights back in this area. Bringing a little bit of that yellow down on this side now, just for balance. I'm gonna put this pink, I think. So I managed to lose the part that I said I liked and I was going to keep. I managed to pretty much dissipate that, but that's the way it goes when you're experimenting and you just keep working on it. So I think that I'm going to leave it there and carry on with a different one. So I hope you enjoyed watching that and that you will experiment with some of these ideas yourself. Okay, bye for now.